thanks so much for coming on the Unstacked Startups podcast. I'm very grateful and excited to have you here today. How's the day going so far?
It's been rainy, but it's sunny now, so things are looking good. How about you?
Beautiful. You don't have smoke in Montreal, do you? We got smoke in Ontario here.
Actually, I think we do in Montreal, but I'm actually at the lake, about 2 hours away from Montreal, and I haven't been there since like June 15th, so I wouldn't know.
I feel like the lake is a good place to chart your next path in startup land, which I think is a good segue into this conversation.
It's exactly what's happening right now.
So Ian, I'm gonna make an attempt at kind of giving the audience an overview on your background. It's pretty extensive, so feel free to jump in or correct me. But you have had a long and a very successful career. You started off in San Francisco building Tiny Pictures, which was acquired by Shutterfly. You came back to Montreal. You co-founded FounderFuel. Those were beautiful days in part because that's where I met you. And you really built an amazing community and ecosystem, which we'll get into. You then went to PasswordBox, which led to the Intel acquisition. I mean, the list goes on. You started Breathe Life, which was acquired by Zinnia. And you are at a point right now where you're thinking about what's next. So what did I miss? I mean, you're a Habs fan, unfortunately, dare I say.
Yeah. Definitely a Habs fan. I've been married almost 18 years now to Emma. We have 2 boys. One's 14 and one's 17. I am, as you said, in between projects right now, and my 14-year-old is loving that dad is available. So we are in the country playing golf 3 days a week, and while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about what's next.
Wow, amazing. So, I mean, if you think about your career from the early days, is there, to now having had various successes and learning experiences, building a family, is there a through line, a theme, something that ties it all together? Something, I don't know if you can sum it up. It's probably hard, but.
Yeah, I think, when I think about what I've done, the one thing that comes to mind is I am very comfortable in throwing myself into things that I know very little about. And I've done that a few times. And, truthfully, when I moved to San Francisco, I did not know much about tech. And I was joining a friend of mine who had this idea, this vision for what became Radar. And, he was looking for a marketer, and really that was the angle that I was coming in at, and, was leaning on them from a technical standpoint. I really didn't know much about even San Francisco at all. So I've had this tendency to throw myself into things that I don't necessarily understand, and just figuring out a way to make sense of it. And I think the other big point of my career has been always wanting to have positive impact. There's all kinds of technologies that exist out there, and I kind of categorize them into 2 buckets. I think there's like tech for tech, just building something using technology just because you can and because it exists, and not really knowing what exactly you're going to do about it. Or the other bucket is tech for purpose. And that's really where I fall into. I have never built tech just because you could. I built tech because I thought there was some sort of positive impact that you could have on the world. And so I would say those are the 2 things, right? Just the capacity to throw myself into something that I don't really know much about, and also, wanting to have a positive impact on the world.
As I hear you say that, I mean, your first comment about needing to, throughout your career, throw yourself and learn things, that you didn't know. I think that for later in this conversation is a good segue into the way you work in an AI world and the way you build businesses today. I think that skill set of needing to learn and relearn and unlearn every few months these days is a skill in itself.
I could give it maybe an example to bring this, make this more tangible. When I moved back to Montreal from San Francisco, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I certainly did not expect to see or find a tech community in Montreal. And while it was the early days of the tech community, there was definitely a lot of stuff happening. And when I met the guys at Real Ventures and they started talking about wanting to build an accelerator, the reality is I had never done an investment in my life, right? I did not know how to invest in companies. I had raised capital, right? We raised quite a bit of money out of investors out of San Francisco, but I've never invested in companies. And the thing that really drew me to the opportunity of co-founding FounderFuel was yes, of course, there's the opportunity for capital gain by investing in startups. But for me, it was more about putting Montreal on the map or contributing to put Montreal on the map as a place where you could build big businesses, out of Montreal.
I can attest to that because I remember sitting next to you at the Notman House as you were running, building, working with entrepreneurs that were in the portfolio at FounderFuel, and you could feel that passion, that curiosity in the room, that you felt like you were working towards something that was bigger than yourself. So, Ian, you talked a little bit about, constantly needing to learn new things. Maybe one question for you. If you think about those early days, the FounderFuel days, you were advising, you were investing in early stage startups. These were teams of 2 co-founders, 4 co-founders. These were tiny teams. What did you learn from that experience?
I mean, I learned so much. The theory at the time was so much about, you invest in the team, and even more so than the opportunity or the business, because the fundamentals of the team and the cohesion of the team are really what drives the most success. And I just, like, today I will occasionally make angel investments, but I've only once or twice done investments where I did not know the founders intimately, because I believe so much about how it's the individual more so than everything else. And there's a company that we invested in early days. It was called Oomph. And we had this thing at FounderFuel where in the beginning of the program, we'd bring in all the mentors and, into a room, and they would help coach all day. And I remember people going like, oh my God, like they have nothing. It's incredible. And the reality is, they had something, but not that much. They were very, very early days. And, that's the team that ultimately built Unsplash, right? They pivoted away from Oomph. They built Crew, and then out of Crew, they built Unsplash. And, that was an exit that was over $100 million. And it was all about the team. It was all about the team. There are all kinds of other things too. One of the biggest drivers of success is also timing. And unfortunately, timing is not always on your side. When we built Tiny Pictures out of San Francisco, and the product we built was Radar. Radar was the very first picture sharing app on the planet, way before Instagram. But with that came all kinds of technology issues that Instagram never had to deal with, right? And, I'm certainly not saying we should have had what Instagram accomplished, but, there was no such thing as cloud computing. There was no such thing as an iPhone. every phone was different. There was so many things that made our vision so much harder to accomplish, and our timing was just completely off, right? And so timing is something that's very difficult to control. Would be a different learning. And so when I talk to entrepreneurs today, one of the questions I like to ask is, what made whatever it is you're trying to tackle, what made this opportunity impossible to tackle 5 years ago? What's different? And that's why there's this crazy explosion of opportunities today with AI, because AI was there 5 years ago, but it was certainly not in the form that it is today, and that opens up tons and tons of opportunities.
So let me ask you a follow-on question. By the way, I completely concur as it relates to timing, and I have an opinion on team obviously as it relates to today in an AI world. But I'll ask you, does the way that the importance, the priority on a team from 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, is that same priority there today if you were to make an angel investment? Or, does AI sort of, polish off what maybe a team doesn't have, or is it even more important? What's your take?
I think the importance on team is at least the same, if not more. I think the real question is, how does that team leverage the tools that exist today that didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago? But the team is still as important, if not more. Like, I don't know what the exact stats are, but most co-founding teams lose one of their co-founders along the way. Right? It's proven. It happened to us at Breathe Life. Like, we lost someone along the way, and you figure it out. But the pressure on the founding team is just enormous, right? But I'm curious to hear, what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think you gave a politically correct answer in that it's at least as important. I think it's a fair bit even more important, if that's even possible.
Which I think is pretty much what I meant to say, which is, the team needs to know how to use those tools to their advantage, and not let those tools do the work for them, but accelerate what they what you're up to. Like, for example, I've only been CEO once, but when I was CEO, I had I had hired a coach, Mark McLeod, who was coaching me, who still coaches many venture-backed businesses. And one of the things that he used to say, which really resonated to me, was, your co-founding team needs to enable you to go faster, and the CTO, his or her team, needs to enable him or her to go faster. Right? It's sort of a cascading effect, and that's essentially what the AI needs to be able to do. Right? Is allow each one of those levels in the company to go faster. And you can do that without having a team of 30 developers, right? And making sure that you're able to leverage those tools effectively to go faster, right? Like, in startup world, speed is a factor, right? You have to be, faster than your competition.
Willing to break things, make mistakes quicker, learn quicker, 100%.
Yeah.
So Ian, you mentioned, losing a co-founder, and I imagine that had an impact on your journey as you were building Breathe Life, which eventually was acquired by Zinnia, of which you became the chief people and culture officer, and eventually the CEO of Zinnia Canada. Losing a co-founder, maybe, you don't have to name names, but what impact did that have on the team? And then maybe guide me through the acquisition. What did you learn through this most recent journey?
Well, the first thing I'd say is anytime we lost anybody in the company, it was a huge impact on myself. There's a reason I became chief people and culture officer at Zinnia. Zinnia, when they were doing their due diligence and when they met us, they saw our company, our culture, how we built products, everything that they thought and saw as a really positive culture, which I think it was, right? And so losing a co-founder, definitely is, it's kind of it's the biggest type of loss you can get through a journey, bigger than losing a client or bigger than losing anyone on the team. But I personally put so much effort into building our team, me and others, but that when I lost anyone, it really hurt. I felt like I did something wrong. I let them down. I did not create the environment for them to be fulfilled, and they didn't believe enough in the vision to stick through it. And so, losing someone is tough. And I did all kinds of stuff to hire the team. I interviewed every single person we ever hired, except for one. And the reason I did not interview that person was because I was on vacation, and I had a policy you're on vacation, you're not checking email, and you're not taking a call because it's an important call, you're away. And to be very specific, I use the word interview, but it wasn't really an interview. It was the team is looking for a certain person. They would go through the interview process, and before we made an offer, I wanted to meet everyone. And the reason I was meeting that person was not to test whether or not they had the skills, because by that point, they had been through a full process. We knew that person could do the job that we had for them. What I wanted to check for was the cultural alignment, right? Can I go in the foxhole with this person? Can I hang out with this person after work and have fun? Can I eat lunch with them, and enjoy the conversation? All those types of things, because I really wanted everyone to be aligned. And so within 3 or 5, let me not exaggerate, maybe within 10 minutes, I knew whether or not I wanted this person on the team. And by that time, once I knew, then I'd go into full on seduction mode, right? You have to join us, blah, 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 whatever. And the purpose there was when they get the offer, I want them to say yes on the fly, right? Not sort of think about it for a week. And true story, there was this one engineer, she was highly recommended by someone else on the team. They had worked together before. And when she was speaking to us, she actually had 4 job offers on the table, including one from Shopify. And she joined us. And she told me that the reason she had joined us, among others, was because I had taken the time to meet with her prior to making the offer. She just felt like that was a place she wanted to work in. And so that was a big part of our growth story, was just hiring the right people and the creation of our solid culture. Now, what's interesting is now I'm getting more into the Zinnia side of things. Once we got acquired, I took on this new role of chief people and culture officer. Zinnia at the time, we were about 1,000 people, and we had several hundred people in India. And so when I was in India, I asked the CEO of India, I'm like, tell me about how you're recruiting. And he told me about the process. And I said, what if you tried meeting the candidates before making the offer? Because I had asked him, do you meet the candidates? Yeah, for sure. Day one, I meet them all. I'm like, how about you try, just for, let's say, 2 or 3 months, try meeting the candidate before making the offer, just to connect and build that relationship. And let's see what happens to the drop-off rate. And the reality is the drop-off rate dropped dramatically. And the point I'm making is people join companies to work with people. Yes, of course, there's what the company does and all that, but just like people leave their jobs because they don't get along with their managers. People join companies because they're going to work with the people they're talking to. And so those are things that I kind of intuitively developed over the years that have been really successful to the growth of the businesses I've been part of.
It reminds me a little bit about a book I read a few years ago. It's called The Talent Code. And in it, he talks about, and there are different cultures and there are different playbooks for how you can go about building, I think, a high performing culture at a growing tech company. But one of the constant themes that the author talks about is there needs to be a feeling of safety, is the word that he uses. Obviously, people need to get the job done and everything else. And there are changes that sometimes, have to be made, but people need to feel safe in that they need to be able to voice their opinions, able to collaborate, able to communicate freely, to get to the right answer, and need to feel safe that they're being heard and willing to hear other people. But we like to say to our customers who are venture-backed tech startups today, they're all AI native venture-backed tech startups, is treat hiring like every single hire is an enterprise sale. Not in a corporate sense, but in the sense you got to pull out the stops. You got to make the candidates feel heard. You need to be human with them. It's not transactional in any way. And that's a part. Obviously, you got to tell a great story and have a good vision for your company. But
there's this moment, going back to the acquisition by Zinnia, where me and a few of my co-founders are in New York City, and we're there for a few days of due diligence. It's actually before the acquisition was closed, and there's all kinds of different sessions that are involved and that are on the agenda, and we're super well prepared for all of them. And there's one that's called How Ian Does Culture. And I was freaking out because I did not know what I was going to present. And even like the night before, we were in our hotel room and everyone's in my room, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, blah, blah. And I told the guys, I'm like, I feel like the fundamental thing that's important is that you actually have to care. And the guys were like, yeah, that really describes who you are and what you do. And so the next morning we get up and we go to the board meeting room, and there's tons of people. And I tell this story like I'm telling you now. And I said, listen, like, I don't know exactly what it is, but what I do know is you fundamentally have to care about the people. And then I just started riffing. I'm like, I do this and I do that, and I use this tool and that tool, and this is how we hire. And basically, culture is certainly not, and I'm not the first to say this, but it's certainly not having a ping pong table and a fridge full of food. Like, all those things are great. They help, right? And being able to hang out after work, that helps. But like, that's not what people come for, right? They want to know they have an impact. They want to feel like they're fulfilled. They want to feel like they can voice their opinion, that they will be heard, and that they'll be considered, right?
100%.
One of the things that I really preached among many, many different things was, you can go there's two ways you go into a meeting, right? You either go into a meeting wanting to convince people that whatever it is you're going to talk about is the right thing, or you can go into learning mode. And I used to always tell the team, you have to be in learning mode. And learning mode does not mean that the group will not do what it is that you think is the right thing to do. It just means that you're going to hear everyone out. And based on what you're hearing, you guys will make a decision on the right thing to do, which may or may not be the thing that you think is the right thing to do, that thing that you really, really believe is the right thing to do. But like, you just got to hear people, and it's like just things of that nature that completely change the dynamics of a meeting and ultimately, how a culture can behave. I look at the match, US versus Canada, and Connor McDavid, who's an incredible player. I can't help but think we lost because of him. He was trying to do everything on his own as opposed to making his teammates better, and we lost the game. Like, I think he has a lot to learn about how he's going to become, the GOAT. He'll become the GOAT because he makes people better, not because he takes the puck from one end to the other and puts it in the goal. When you think about it, like bringing it back to, our day to day and our work environment, I will take someone that is perfectly aligned with the culture that I want to create, that is less skilled than someone that is incredibly skilled and not quite a fit culturally. Any day of the week, I'll take, because the reason is you can teach skills, very difficult to change attitude.
Yeah.
And when the attitude is not there, when the culture alignment is not there, you have to get rid of that individual, because it will become a cancer in your organization.
Absolutely. You have different elements or quadrants of how you define a great team or great individual players, right? And one of them being, are they talented at whatever function they spend their day in? But another one might be fit within the wider team, or commitment, or these non-tangible items. And you get someone who's super talented but just can't put the team above themselves, and the boat will sink. That's it.
Yep.
So
one of the things we did early on at Breathe Life was, one of our employee number one, actually Emma Williams, that well, she came to me and she said, we need to define our values. And at first I was like, values are just a thing on the wall and blah, blah, blah. And we continue talking about it. And I said, listen, if we're going to do this, we have to go all the way in, like full on. It can't be just words on the wall. And so we did all kinds of things, which today I feel are more common. But like 8 years ago, I certainly had never heard about it. Maybe it existed. But we scored candidates on the values that we had set. Like, we defined the values, we defined what it meant to have these values, what were indications that these values were being followed, and then we applied that in our interview process. We applied that in our annual review process. We did like peer reviews based on values, because what we want to know is, like, Ian and Ilan can get along and have a good conversation and disagree, but then agree to disagree and move on in a way that is culturally sound and what we wanted to see. And that's the result of that was, an incredible culture. And that's what part of what Zinnia saw was that culture. But you have to be very, very, very intentional about it. And that's what I think it's one of the things we did really well.
Amazing. Not to put you on the spot here, but
you will.
But I will. in a world where everybody is, on Claude Code and Claude Cowork and chat and talking to their own AIs and their own systems and whatever else, do the principles of what you just spoke about as it relates to culture, team building, has any of it changed in an AI environment? Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I don't think AI should have an impact on the things we just discussed. It shouldn't. Is it? It probably is in some places for sure, but I don't think it should, because fundamentally, like, AI is an item that should help us accomplish things faster and do things that we couldn't do, 5 or 10 years ago. But fundamentally, it's still a group of individuals that are building this company. It's certainly changed team composition. I think some roles may or may not disappear, but like, I have a hard time imagining myself starting a business today that is built on size of team. There's this weird thing, I've been doing this for 20 years now. There's been this weird thing for the longest time, it's like, hey, how's your business doing? Oh, it's doing great. We're 50 people. Like, the employee count was kind of a sign of how things are going, right? Oh, not so good. We scaled the team back. We're 5 people now. Like, there was this weird thing that it was like
a sign of success or something.
Sign of success, exactly. And today, I think it's actually the opposite, right? Like, I would love to have a team of 5 and be generating tens of millions of dollars, right? Like, the new metric today is employee per FTE. Sorry, not employee per FTE, revenue per FTE, right? Like, how many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars are each employees generating? That changes everything, right? But it doesn't change the way in which the individuals building this product should behave amongst each other, and how you talk about what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to get there, and what's the impact that you're having on the world. Those things stay the same. It's just the mechanics of how you get there are completely changed, right? Like, and it's interesting because I often wonder about the impact that has on professional investors, right? There was a model to invest in SaaS, right? Investors knew if the company was doing this, and this, high likelihood of success, boom. Today, that's all out the door. It's like, and that's why it's the far west right now. Like, no one knows how, from an investment standpoint, how to evaluate the true value of a startup, because we've seen so many crazy things happen in the last 2-3 years. So there's sort of the playbook of how to invest in startups is being rewritten right now.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that, here's a take. I think that, last point on culture, I think that AI and the systems you create internally in many ways get the humans out of the weeds, hopefully, right?
Yep.
And allow the humans to be more human.
Like, I've done it. I did it in the Valley. I don't ever want to do it again. When we built Breathe Life, we were firm. It was like 40-hour weeks, and we had 4 weeks vacation. And every quarter, I'd tell my team, you didn't take a vacation, take your vacation. Like, you need this time to sit back, relax, not think about work. And I think maybe AI can actually help us do that, right? And help us find that time that, as founders, we've chosen not to have, because we always wanted to work, because we thought we had to go faster, right? And we do need to go fast.
For sure. I think, though, now there's a unique moment in time right now where this ties into the formation of a team and how you identify great talent that is the right talent for working at an early startup. And what we're seeing right now with a ton of our partners is individuals who can think in systems, right? It's not necessarily time in equals output. It can be the system you build, the leverage that you can create with the tools at your disposal, the more of an orchestrator that you can be, to elevate the rest of your team, to elevate your business. You can work less, you can spend more time, and then all the added benefits from a mental health perspective.
What's this trend? Is it 996 or whatever? Like, working 9 to 9, 6 days a week. That's such garbage.
And impossible if you got kids and you want to be in their life. Impossible.
And what's this new thing that I think it's Sam Altman said he was doing? Like, he's sleeping like 2-hour stretches to go back to work. Like, come on, guys. Like, all that stuff is just dumb. Say, that's fine if you want to do that. Go for it. It's just not at all what I believe in. And you can believe whatever you want. Like, all kinds of people believe some crazy shit. And in my book, that's just dumb. But if they want to do it, that's fine. And, a great business is defined differently for different people, by different people.
Absolutely.
Is Apple amazing? Yeah, I'm on a Mac right now. I'm on iPhone. Like I've been an Apple fanboy ever since I started working, but like they did it. I'm not going to do that, and it's fine.
100%. I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, Ian, you've been an early stage founder yourself. You've been an early employee at organizations. You've been an executive. You've been an angel investor in early teams. You advise a lot of founders. Knowing what you know now, your experiences, what's the biggest thing you would tell a founder that is starting a business today in 2026? What would you want to impart on them?
Yeah. It's kind of related to the topic we were just talking about now on work. Like when I meet founders, I'm like, you got to be doing it for the right reason. Like, of course, there's opportunity for capital gain, but that can't be the first driver. The driver may be, I worked in this industry and I saw how inefficient it is, and I think we can build efficiency in the industry. Oh, and by the way, we can make capital gain. Or, I really, and the environment is super important to me, and I want to make sure we have we have an impact on global warming, and that's why I'm doing this. Like something of that nature, which is not just about capital gain. Because if you're doing it just for the money, you will undoubtedly make wrong decisions along the way, or bad decisions along the way. It could be as simple as, I want to build a business because I want to control my schedule, right? And I would love to be able to work 3 days a week and have a great lifestyle. Like there's all kinds of reasons, but the fundamental reason should not be, in my opinion, about getting rich, which is a problem, because in the last decade or so, entrepreneurship has been big time glorified. Elon Musk, first trillionaire on the planet. I want to be the next trillionaire. No, it's not the right way to do it, right? That can't, and I can guarantee, I don't know Elon, and, there's all kinds of opinions on him, but I can guarantee he's not doing it because he wants to be a trillionaire. Guaranteed. It just so happens that in doing the types of businesses and the moonshots that he's done, he has become that. But I don't think ever was that his motivator, ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the real purpose? Why are you really doing this? And if that purpose is really just about making cash for your pocket,
that's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ian, we're getting toward the end of our conversation here. Not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Again,
I'm going to do it again, and you can answer how you'd like. Where are you in the journey of figuring out what's next? How do you think about that? I'm excited to see what you do.
Yeah. Well, there's two things that are interesting to me right now. One is I would not call it a tech play per se, although it involves applying tech to certain industries, but is definitely not a pure tech play. I went through a phase of just wanting to leave the tech space in the last 3 years, just sort of irritated with it, and just sort of like not bored, but just irritated with it, and this idea came up. I think it's something that is not perpetual in time, but like the opportunity is here now, and it'll be there in 5 and 10 years. So there's that that space, which I've invested less time, but some time in. And the other is, an AI play for the insurance industry again. That one I've advanced quite a bit. I have one guy that's willing to be co-founder with me. He was an employee of Breathe Life. We're looking for a technical co-founder right now. We already have a potential client. And so that's been moving faster. But the reality is I don't think anything will come to fruition between now and the fall and likely, mid-fall. And I want to do it really MVP style in both cases, ideally not raising capital at first, eventually raising some seed, maybe seed strapping it. I've been in organizations that we've raised, $20, $30 million or more. And given everything that's happening, I just don't think that's the right path, right? All the dynamics are changing. And so I want to raise as little as possible and have as much impact as I think is possible with that small raise.
I'm excited to see where you land, and of course, I wish you nothing but the best. So,
thank you very much.
I'll be rooting for you, not your halves, but I'll be rooting for you.
It was a pleasure, Ilan. Thank you very much for the invite. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ian.